Okay, so up to this point, we've sort of given you a basis of knowledge and what the difference is between SSDI and SSI, and some definitions of terms and acronyms. And we've also illustrated what the usual process is for an application. And it sort of helps to think about the usual process as sort of a more passive affair. You're helping your client do the application, but then once it arrives at the SSA office and is transferred to DDS, it's sort of out of your hands. They're going to do the medical records requests and make that determination, and then you're going to get a determination in the mail a couple months down the line. And by now I can see that you're all on the edge of your chairs and you're wrapped with anticipation, and George, I'm looking at you, you're saying, Eric and Kristi, why? Why haven't I been told what the SOAR process is? When am I going to learn? And just before we started this module, I said to Kristi, are they ready? Are they ready to have this knowledge dropped on them? This knowledge of how to get people benefits that really deserve them and do it in a streamlined process.
Yes.
Kristi, what did you say?
I said, absolutely.
Yes, she says. So we are coming down from the mountain, and we're going to tell you right now what the SOAR process actually is.
Tell us, Eric.
Screaming for this knowledge.
So first things first, you're going to want to get your protected filing date. And we've talked about a couple ways in which you can get the protected filing date. Does anyone remember one of those ways?
Call.
Yes, that's a good one. How about another one?
Fax.
Yes.
A walk-in?
Yes. And how about an online application? Does anyone
Yes.
remember that? And then we also have, if you turn to page 31 at the back of the module, and then turn one page back because page 30 isn't numbered, there's also the consent for release of information, which would also serve to protect your filing date and gives you some good info on when the last application was and how many applications there have been. So that's going to preserve your filing date. That's step one. And that gives you 60 days from the time of the protected filing date to actually finish your application. What are you going to do in those 60 days? Well, that's step two. You're going to go ahead and start making the medical records requests yourself. And Kristi's going to tell us more about that in a few minutes. And you're going to be like white on rice on those medical records. You're going to track those down and become the doctor's worst nightmare. Well, not really. But you're going to do the best you can to get those records in beforehand. But while that process is going on, you're also going to be doing your own assessments that we talked about before and that George so expertly pointed out earlier. You're going to be trying to tie in your mind the disability that your client has and linking that to his workplace performance. How can he function in a workplace? How is that going to affect him? And then the next step, which is kind of the piece de resistance de SOAR, is the summary medical report. And that's where you're going to take both the medical records and medical evidence you've already collected and your own observations. You're going to pair those together in a really tight, well-written document that's going to sort of be like spoon-feeding the DDS your argument of why your client deserves these benefits. It's going to open up the baby birds coming in. Yes, you got it. So that's our basic process. But once you've submitted all your information, you've submitted your summary medical report, you're not done. Because as you'll find, your clients often don't remember all of their medical providers, or one will pop up after you've already submitted this information. So you're going to be doing your best you can to follow up with subsequent medical requests and get as much info to DDS as you possibly can. And we're going to move on now. I'm sorry I didn't have a slide on that. We have 2,553 slides in this program. And I think it's poetic justice because yesterday I disparaged the use of PowerPoint in front of Kristi. So what are the benefits of our new improved process? One is communication among parties. But you might be saying to yourself, Eric, Kristi, how are you leading me astray? This isn't really communication. I'm giving them everything, and they're giving me nothing. How are we going to get information from SSA? Nancy.
1696.
Yes, 1696. And that's going to allow SSA to give you all the information on your client's application that you otherwise wouldn't be able to get if you were just helping them as a representative. Transparency of process, what we mean there is that you're going to have, if you've already assembled all the records, you know exactly what DDS is going to be making this decision based upon. And you're also going to be requesting that they provide you with any records they've been able to obtain that you couldn't. And that plays into completeness of information as well. I mean, you're making sure that there's as complete a picture as possible for DDS to make its determination upon. This is a good time to also talk about collaborating with SSA and DDS. we don't have our local SSA rep here today. They didn't have enough time, so normally we would bring them. And there's, I won't delve into these because you're also advanced, you already know them. But you can also have cases flagged as homeless, just gonna try our last slide really quickly. The electronic process. It's really easy to complete the SSDI application online now, and that also preserves your filing date for SSI as well. And if you ever have a chance, if you get electronic medical records from your providers in PDF form or whatever form it might be, and you want to submit those instead of submitting paper or fax them, which the problem with that is it takes a little bit longer because then they convert the fax into an electronic record. It's a little bit faster if you can use electronic records. And with that, I will turn it over to the amazing and wonderful Kristi.
Thank you. All right, so when we're talking about collecting medical evidence, that seems to be the hardest thing to do. Everybody in here has filled out an ROI, release of information, asked for the information and received what? Nothing. So we definitely want to make sure here that we're being as diligent as possible in collecting the medical records. Now, the way to do this is when you're doing the interview with the client, you want to make sure that you get a release of information signed for Social Security Administration, as well as an ROI for your agency. So the purpose of doing this is Social Security can be working on getting the medical records while you are working on getting the medical records as well. So here are some tips and some interesting ways to make sure that process happens as quickly and as diligent as possible. Contact current treating providers. Those current providers are more likely to get you that information as opposed to old treatment providers. I had a client who had been seen, not currently, but had been seen about 5 or 10 years ago at another place in another state. When I asked him, I said, okay, Mr. L, we're trying to get medical records. Where was that last place you got treated? He said, I don't know. It was a red building by a highway. And I think it was I-35, but it could have been I-35. So if you're not familiar, the best thing to do in that situation, there's this wonderful thing on Google Maps called Street View. So the first thing we did is we looked up some potential addresses, we pulled up those addresses and looked on the Street View, and that way he was able to look at 360 what was all the way around and say, oh, that looks familiar, or no, that's not it at all. We were able to, process of elimination, find the right place. So that always helps in those kind of situations. So we also want to make sure that you maintain contact with DDS. The examiner that will be assigned to that case, it always helps to keep contact and keep offering new medical records as you find them. In the medical records departments, we know how hard it is and how much stuff they have to do, but Eric and I have discovered that in our state, since everyone in here is from Louisiana, a lot of our clients use the LSU hospital, and it's through a very disheartening process. We learned that LSU has their own release of information. So you'll see in the front of your binders, we went ahead and put a release of information for LSU and Charity Hospital. Because those specific agencies, if you get a regular release of information and sign them, they'll send you back a wonderful letter saying, your ROI looks great, but here's another one that you need to fill out. So that will save you 7 to 10 days. If you know your clients from LSU, get them to sign that one. That'll save you some time. Different kind of information to ask for: psych evals, physical evals, any diagnostic tests, psychological tests. Admission summaries are just as important as discharge summaries because it gives a clear picture if the client was hospitalized on, say, the 3rd or 10th floor at LSU, what they were like when they came in and what medications they put them on, so what they look like when they left. Collaborative information is always nice. You can get psychosocial evaluation reports, vocational if they happen to be working. Other medical evidence, state mental health departments. If you know there are several different commonly used facilities that the client potentially could have gone to, go ahead and get them to sign a release for those facilities. It's okay if you send it and they say we have no record of this client on file. let's see. There is at the end of your module, there is a worksheet that you can use when you're interviewing with the client to keep track of the different possible medical things that they might have going on with them. Does anybody have any questions? Or I know that's a lot of information. No questions? Okay, thank you.